Could Steve Garvey actually win the U.S. Senate seat in California? We've got the analysis. Plus, Katie Porter calls the election rigged, and Huntington Beach scores a victory for voter ID. All that and more coming up. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and we are still sorting through the results of the March 2024 primary here in California. And there are still more than 2 million votes to be counted, left to be counted and added into the results. But at least in the U.S. Senate race, we know one thing is for sure, that Adam Schiff, the Democrat, will face off with the Republican, Steve Garvey. And this was not a foregone conclusion when we started this race. And that's why Reform California early on endorsed Steve Garvey. And our movement actually expended funds to boost him. We put him on our voter guide. We mailed the voter guide statewide. We did a lot of digital texting and email efforts. And with a whole lot of grassroots support and Adam Schiff spending money to boost Garvey, what we see now is a Republican-Democrat contest in the November election. And this is important because in several of the past U.S. Senate races, Republicans have been completely shut out of the November election. It's always been a Democrat versus a Democrat in those other races, and gives voters no real choice. The question is now being asked, could Steve Garvey actually win a U.S. Senate seat as a Republican in California? It's pretty daunting, because the voter registration in California is so one-sided. It's lopsided in favor of the Democrats. And a bunch of the donors have basically dismissed him as unwinnable. And in order for you to win in politics, you need funding to get your message out. It's like a chicken and egg issue. You can't win unless you get funding, and you don't get the funding unless people think that you can win. So we're going to look at, can Steve Garvey win in just a moment. But first, let me cover this interesting tweet that was sent out by Katie Porter. It's generating a lot of attention. Katie Porter placed a distant third in the U.S. Senate race. She was working so hard and clawing so hard to get into the second place finish to square off with Adam Schiff. She sent out a tweet basically alleging that the election was, quote, rigged. She said rigged. And a lot of Democrats immediately slammed her. I think that this is going to hurt her, because I know for a fact that her plans are to come back in the U.S. Congress. She's hoping that Scott Baugh might win her congressional seat this cycle. Oh yeah, that's how politics is played. I mean, these people are ambitious. They don't, they care about the position and the power, not actually the movement. She's a fraud. But I think she's secretly hoping now that Scott Baugh wins her congressional seat and that no other Democrat wins that seat, because she can't challenge a fellow Democrat in a safe or in an incumbent situation. But she can go back after her seat if Scott Baugh wins. So that is my prediction, is that if Scott Baugh wins, she will be on the ballot in 2 years. But what she just tweeted may hurt her with Democrats. Oh, they'll still come around and support her. They always overlook the flaws of their candidates. But what did she mean by rigged? What she said was, because this was the original tweet that got people so upset on the Democrat side. Because of you, we had the establishment running scared, with standing 3-to-1 in TV spending and an onslaught of billionaires spending millions to rig this election. Now, she's not saying that votes were changed. Or that fraudulent votes were submitted. And I can tell you right now, I do believe that fraudulent votes are submitted in California's loosey-goosey election system. There's no doubt about it. In fact, the Transparency Foundation, of which I serve on the board, did a study and actually has overwhelming evidence that, yes, voter fraud is real in California, and that the way our elections are conducted in California almost invites fraud. It creates conditions with very few internal controls. But put that aside. Now she's coming back and saying that the term rigged, she doubled down with another statement on this week. Rigged means manipulated by dishonest means. In other words, she's saying that the big dark money campaign run against her was filled with false accusations. And because of that, people were bamboozled and they voted, based on falsehoods. Again, that's very true in politics. It's what's very frustrating about the special interest in the establishment. But Katie Porter, honey, you are one of the biggest liars in politics. So, don't even start with, oh my goodness, people are lying in politics. Please. Okay, so that is Katie Porter. She's not very happy. She's getting some grief. Now let's talk about Steve Garvey. Can he actually win this race? For that, I want to go back to 2022, the U.S. Senate race against my good friend Mark Moiser versus Alex Padilla. Padilla won that race 60.89%. Here is our good Wikipedia page. Sometimes Wikipedia actually has accurate information, but most of the time it's, well, not as trustworthy. Padilla got more than 6.5 million votes. Moiser got 4.2 million votes. 61 to 39, basically, was the spread. 69 to 31 right here. 61 to 39, and that is in the regular election. There was a special election the same year. You kind of wonder, like, why did these people not vote? But again, that was a little bit better for Moiser by a couple fractions of a point. But basically, you're looking at a 61-39 split in the gubernatorial race against Newsom and Dolly. That same election, it was a 59-41. So you're looking at a 40-60 state split as of 2022, give or take. Could Garvey win? Well, in order to win, he would have to basically change the minds of 10% of voters, 1 in 10. That is a tall order. Is it impossible? No. But remember, there's also bigger turnout in the presidential election than there is in a midterm election. Now, I don't think that the assumption that presidential elections are inherently more democratic, I don't think that that's true anymore in California. It certainly wasn't true in 2018, 2020, 2022. We didn't see a big change in percentages with Republicans versus Democrats in terms of the share of the vote. The total votes obviously changed dramatically. But I think we're looking at a 60-40 split to start in terms of the baseline from 2022. What does Garvey have to do to win? Well, I believe there are 3 things that he has to do to win, and it would be a tall order, but not impossible. And so I don't think that people should write off Steve Garvey. I think that we should support him, just like we should support the rest of our ticket, up and down the ticket. Because remember, races are not just about one person, but it's about the whole philosophy and the movement in a whole slate of candidates. That's why Reform California has our voter guide. And I want to, before we get into the 3 reasons why, or 3 things that Garvey can do, I want to invite you to go check out the Reform California website, reformcalifornia.org. We have all sorts of news and information there. Here's another more expansive piece on some of the good news that we're seeing in the 2024 March primary. But check out the voter guide. And this is what I'm talking about. If we want to win in California, we can't just be about one candidate. It has to be about issues, lowering the cost of living by stopping unfair and costly tax hikes, reforming the schools so our kids get a good education and respecting parents' rights, combating crime, making sure that you're not going to become a victim or that your business isn't ransacked by smash and grab robbers, dealing with homelessness. All of these issues absolutely are 70% issues. Securing the border, a 70% issue, even though Republicans shy away from that issue in California, which is, I think, absolutely absurd. The voter guide, I believe, is the best way for us to win elections up and down the ticket. And that's why I wanted to see Steve Garvey in the runoff, because we need a full ticket. We need someone in every single race. Otherwise, people will say, well, I'm only interested in the Senate race and I don't have no reason to vote because it's 2 Democrats and I'm discouraged. Garvey being in the runoff helps the entire ticket. Now, how does Garvey help himself? Well, number 1, he's got to run a better campaign. Oh my God, this guy was like, trying to find, a 4-leaf clover. He was nowhere to be seen in most cases. And he wasn't very well prepped for his appearances. He's a nice guy. I know him. I've had him on my radio show. I've spoken to him in person. He's a very nice guy. He's very genuine. And my hope is that he gets out there and improves as a candidate and gets much more focused on his talking points, his message, and delivering them more effectively, because his genuine caring for the people will come through. I mean, this guy is a great guy in terms of why he's doing this, and he's concerned about the future of the nation and the state. He's genuine. He's not a career politician, and that's what I think will come across. But people need to hear more from him. He needs to do more events, and so that's the first step. And he's got to be more on message. The second issue is he's got to be on message. Adam Schiff is going to make this election all about Donald Trump. And I think that what Schiff needs to do is own it and say, yes, I'm supporting Trump because of the issues I care about. I believe that he would be better as president, and I certainly would be better as U.S. senator. For example, boom, 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 boom. Go down the list. Cost of living, improving the schools, securing the border, combating crime. Go down the list of issues that are 70%. And as you're doing that, say there's a reason why Schiff wants to make this about Trump. He doesn't want to defend his own failings on these issues. So it's a way to pivot real quick into, yes, I'm supporting Trump because I care about the issues. And these 4 issues Mr. Schiff has failed on dramatically. Make it about the issues, not about party labels, not about who you're supporting in a different race. Make it about the issues. And I do believe that it's going to be cost of living, border security / crime, because those are both physical safety issues. It's going to be about the issue of improving our schools and respecting parents' rights. And while you think it may be homelessness, I think touching on that may be an element, maybe under the rubric of crime, because it is a law enforcement issue we've got to deal with vis-a-vis the homeless. I think corruption and the broken political system would be the 4th issue, because there's a lot of voters on both sides of the aisle who realize someone like Schiff is corrupt to the core. He is a liar. He is a habitual liar. That's all he does is lie, just because he's ambitious and he just likes to grandstand. And so I think, taking 3 issues that are more top of mind for the American people or for California voters, cost of living, crime / border security, and the issue of schools, and then pivoting into the corruption of the system, that could be a winning combination. So the issue set has to be there. And then finally, Steve Garvey has to find a way to cost effectively get his message out. And he's got to raise money. So he's going to have to spend money in this campaign. But there are a lot of ways to do stunts and get earned media. I mean, I'm telling you right now that TV ads are not the way to go. It's all going to be here, particularly for younger voters. And yes, a lot of those voters can be reached through ads through these devices. But I think Garvey could run a very aggressive campaign against Schiff, just based upon his own personal story and just based upon the issues. Get edgy, get outside of the Republican bubble, the old stale establishment approach Republicans take. So we're going to be reaching out to Garvey and continuing to give support to him from Reform California, giving him advice. But it's going to be a hard hill to climb. It is climbable. And I think the best campaign that Garvey runs will only end up benefiting the entire slate of ticket. Again, I want every single candidate to work as hard as they can, because it's not just about their race, it's about everyone's race underneath them and above them. Again, check out that voter guide at reformcalifornia.org. This is the primary voter guide. We will once again in the general election have a general election voter guide, which will be far more extensive because we expect to have tons more candidates, tons more ballot measures. We give people the plain English description on the ballot measures. Also, help us continue to do the work that we're doing by contributing online at reformcalifornia.org. Click that button, contribute. The average contributor is giving about $67 a year, which is about $5, $6 a month. Doesn't take much to be part of our movement to take back the state of California, but we do need the resources. I want to give a congratulations to Mayor Tony Strickland of Huntington Beach and his team there, the council members who supported the voter ID requirement. It passed overwhelmingly in Tuesday's election. Voters want voter ID. And our polling at Reform California shows this. 70% of California voters support voter ID, including a majority of independents, a supermajority of independents, a supermajority of Republicans, a plurality of Democrats, a majority of Latinos, a majority of African Americans. They support voter ID. It's common sense. Who doesn't support voter ID? The liberal lying media in California and Democrat politicians. So What Cal Matters is pointing out is that even though voters in Huntington Beach want voter ID for their local elections, there's a bill that's been introduced to ban voter ID at the state level. And also, you can absolutely predict that the Secretary of State and the Attorney General, both Democrats, plan to threaten Huntington Beach with a lawsuit. But you basically have all of the Democrats trying to gang up on Huntington Beach. They've introduced Senate Bill 1174, which would basically ban local governments from allowing or requiring voter ID for local elections. Now, mind you, nobody on the Democrat side is concerned about local governments allowing illegal immigrants to vote in elections. They did that up in San Francisco. 3 years ago, they passed a law saying that illegal immigrants can vote in school board elections. You know where this is heading, right? They start with one office that illegal immigrants can vote for, and then boom, it becomes a normative thing. Oh, of course, if we let them do that, we should let them vote for president, of course. It's just absolutely absurd. And so I expect Senate Bill 1174 to pass because Democrats don't want voter ID, which is why we need my California voter ID initiative at Reform California. Take a look at the campaign. It's right here, Election Integrity Initiative, join the fight. So go to reformcalifornia.org, click under the Election Integrity tab, and I'd like you to sign up to pledge to vote and support our voter ID initiative statewide. Sign up as a volunteer to collect signatures, and of course, chip in a contribution, because we've got to amend the state constitution to require voter ID. That way, the Democrats can't sue. The Democrats can't pass a law to undo it. It's the law of the land. If it's in the Constitution of the state of California, that is our top priority moving forward in terms of ballot measures we'd like to qualify. Go to reformcalifornia.org, make a contribution to that effort, and sign up as a volunteer. All right, we got more election analysis coming up in the coming days as more votes are counted from the March primary. There are a number of close elections that are out there that we're keeping an eye on. And of course, we're already pivoting to the general election, so please be part of that. We can win our state back. We can take it back from the far left insanity, but we need everyone in the fight. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.